Today, we are diving into one heck of a story about survival. It's about a near-death experience deep in the Australian rainforest that led to this incredible personal rebirth. It's a story about what happens when you're forced to face your own mortality and what you might find on the other side. And we're going to start with this quote because it really just sets the stage. This is from the man at the center of our story, Todd Cole. And this one sentence, man, it just captures the strange, almost timeless feeling of the whole ordeal he was about to go through. It's way more than just a snakebite story.
All right, so let's set the scene. Our story kicks off with Todd and his girlfriend Megan. They're heading out for a multi-day hike in Australia's Lamington National Park, which is just stunning. They were really overdue for an adventure, but this one was going to give them way more than they ever bargained for.
Now, just a quick heads up for our international viewers. If an Aussie tells you they're off to Lamington, this delicious cake is probably what pops into your head. Yeah, no. The national park is a little less spongy and a lot more rugged. We're talking ancient, dense rainforest, absolutely beautiful, but, filled with its own secrets.
So as they're hiking and the sun starts to go down, they both start to feel it, this weird, heavy presence in the air. Todd said it was like the land itself was trying to warn them, this primal gut feeling that they were walking towards something they really shouldn't be. But, against their better judgment, they kept going.
They just had one last creek to cross to get to their campsite. By now it's dark, the water's moving, and Todd, being a typical Aussie, just decides to take his shoes off and go for it. And it was right on the other side of that creek, in one single, terrifying moment, that the land's warning became a reality.
Todd feels this sharp pain in his foot. He whips his head torch down, thinking it's probably just a leech or something. But no. Coiled at his feet is a young eastern brown snake, its head reared up. After it strikes, it just vanishes into the darkness, leaving Todd with 2 tiny puncture marks and a lethal dose of venom starting to work its way through his system.
So here's something that's kinda counterintuitive. You'd think a smaller snake would be less dangerous, right? Well, it's often the exact opposite. See, adult snakes know a big human isn't food, so they might give you a dry bite as a warning to back off. But the young ones, they haven't learned to control their venom yet. They panic and they just inject every last drop they've got.
They've got no phone service, so their training just kicks in. Megan absolutely heroically turns around and just bolts back into the pitch-black rainforest to find help. They share this kiss that Todd said felt like a final goodbye, and he's left there alone to start first aid, wrapping a pressure bandage all the way up his leg trying to slow that venom down.
But here's the thing, the #1 absolute golden rule of snake bites is to stay completely still. Any movement, any muscle contraction just pumps that venom through your system faster. And in that first wave of panic, Todd did the exact opposite. He got up and hobbled about 100 meters. Then it hit him, this critical mistake, and he forced himself to just sit down and wait.
And so the wait began. Just imagine it, alone, in the dark, deep in the rainforest, with venom from the world's second most toxic land snake pumping through your veins. All he could do was sit there and confront what was happening to him. The very first thing he felt wasn't physical, it was psychological. This overwhelming, undeniable feeling of impending doom. He described it as his own brain just telling him, with absolute certainty, you are going to die. The adrenaline was roaring, the blood was just pounding in his ears.
For 2 hours, he just sat there, trying to meditate, trying to focus on his breathing. Time just stretched and twisted. Every little rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig in the forest would spark this little bit of hope. Is that them? Is that rescue? Only to have it swallowed by the silence again.
But right there, in that terrifying solitude, just as Todd started to truly accept his fate, something completely unexpected happened. The terror started to give way to, something else entirely.
Instead of crippling fear, this wave of pure euphoria just washed over him. He said it was actually a beautiful feeling, this sense of complete and total calm. It was like as soon as he let go of the fight to live, his mind just shifted into this incredibly peaceful state. And then it got even wilder. At the peak of this whole thing, he felt himself literally float out of his body. He was rising up, high above the rainforest canopy. And from there, he could look down and see his own body, just sitting there on the forest floor. He was just a calm observer to his own death. He really struggled to describe this feeling of timelessness. That is, until he learned about a concept from Australia's First Nations people, something they call a fourth tense. So, we have past, present, and future. The fourth tense is this eternal, ongoing state where something is always happening. And that just clicked for him. It perfectly described his feeling. He was watching himself die, but it felt like he had already died in that spot 100 times before.
To Todd, this wasn't some hallucination. He genuinely believes that the person he was before that snakebite, that version of Todd, actually died on the forest floor that night. The man who came back was someone completely new.
After 2 agonizing hours, lights finally cut through the darkness. The rescue was chaotic, it was uniquely Australian, and thankfully, it was life-saving. But the end of that ordeal was really just the beginning of his transformation.
So who did Megan find? The only other people for miles around, 3 campers who were, in Todd's words, pretty drunk. But these heroes carried him out, threw him in the back of their pickup truck, or ute as we call it, and got him to the paramedics, who promptly joked about dropping him at the graveyard. You gotta love it. The rescuers were later paid in the unofficial currency of Australia, cases of beer.
At the hospital, they confirmed it was a nasty bite, either an eastern brown or a tiger snake. He ended up needing 2 vials of antivenom, each one worth $15,000. And because of Australia's healthcare system, he walked away without paying a single cent for it. Incredible.
So you'd think he would hate snakes for the rest of his life, right? But he doesn't. He started to see the snake as this powerful symbol. You know how a snake sheds its skin to grow? He felt like the venom had forced him to shed a version of himself that was stuck, that was unhappy, and it allowed this new, more purposeful person to emerge.
And he didn't just think about it. He actually did something with this new purpose. He quit his old job and he started the Shaper Shed. It's this amazing workshop where he teaches young people, especially kids from tough backgrounds, the mindful, almost meditative art of hand-shaping their very own surfboards.
He said after his first workshop, seeing these kids so completely lost in what they were doing, so focused they didn't even want to stop, he was just overwhelmed with emotion. He realized that this new life, this thing that was born directly from his trauma, wasn't just healing him, it was bringing real joy and purpose to other people.
In the end, Todd's brush with death became the very thing that sparked a more meaningful life, one built around community and passion. And it kind of leaves us with this powerful question to think about, doesn't it? If you were given a true second chance, a total fresh start, what part of yourself would you be willing to shed, and what new life would you build?